He's a big one. Welcome to Pegwarmers, I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today, we're taking a look at a few new-to-the-collection items, as well as some bits of toy news. If you checked out last week's episode of Men in Black Toys, I really appreciate that. It was fun sitting down with Tony and Ryan and talking about the Men in Black toy line. We also did an episode on Tony's channel, The Worst Men in Black, so we kind of did a quick overview of the 4 Men in Black movies and picked which one we thought was the worst. I was previously on a Worst Ninja Turtles episode with Tony, over there on Hack the Movies. First up on New to the Collection, I think this is the most recent toy I've had delivered, Vultak. He is a character from the She-Ra cartoon show, part of the MOTU Universe Origins cartoon collection. Did they drop Origins from the name of these? Or is it just the Masters Universe cartoon collection? I don't know. They do say the cartoon collection on the front here, and it just says the Masters Universe logo at the top. The back of the package does have the Princess of Power logo on it, because he's from a episode of the cartoon. It says, as seen on Zoo Story. And this guy was first released as an action figure as part of MOTU Classics. That was one of the best things about Classics. We got a ton of Filmation characters released. But it is fun getting them in the retro 5.5 style that work with the original vintage action figures. That's kind of a neat way to get some of these characters. I already have them in Classics, and I mention this a lot. I sometimes feel frustrated buying characters over and over and over again. But this is a really great scale to have these characters in. So I got suckered into buying him. I did skip the Hero figure, though. The figure right before this, I guess, from Mattel Creations. I have the Hero figure released by Super 7, which is actually with vintage articulation. He doesn't have elbow bends and stuff. But that one's so good, and I'm very happy with that one. I didn't feel like I really needed the additional articulation that comes with Origins for that character. They're too similar to buy again, I felt like. So you got the fan-friendly packaging. This piece of cardboard just slides out there. He does have a mini comic shrink-wrapped here called Shadow Heart. It's got a sketchier style artwork to it than they often do. I wonder if the artist is different on this one. We've got ourselves some wings. We've got our figure and his accessory. He's got a little zookeeper hover robot pack-in buddy. That's always fun. I like pack-in characters. I would have kind of liked him to have come with Cowl, because he captures Cal for his zoo in his episode of the show. And we don't have a Cal for this new toy line. It'd be neat if they did him at some point. We'll see. And then, of course, he's got his main accessory here, his plug-on wings, which is hardly an accessory, right? It's really just part of his body. These, I assume, are wings that they sculpted for the Sorceress. And that might also get used for Angela if they ever do her, or Angelica. Because they're very graceful looking wings, and I could see his wings being either more powerful. I don't know if he really needs the tail part here, which is, again, makes me think of the Sorceress a lot. But they work for him, and they're obviously going to try to reuse tooling as much as possible, and having people sculpt wings is a pain. I know when the Four Horsemen were sculpting wings for some of the MOTU Classic stuff and some of the DC Universe Classic stuff, they were like getting sick of making sets of wings. Whoops. Tried to move his arm there and popped it right out of the socket. Kind of a funny feature with these guys, still having that swappable parts everywhere that was built in for kid play with the original part of the line, but now that they're, Mattel collection things, Mattel creation figures, I don't know if you really need that feature, but I'm sure there's occasions where it does allow for some customization or some alternative parts if you wanted to. He's got a pretty normal-looking humanoid body, not a lot of details on it other than some musculature, so I don't think it's the standard chest, plus it needs the holes in the back. He's got pretty standard arms, besides these little furry pieces, but those seem to be add-on like gauntlets because they rotate on their own. So they are not a sculpted bracer piece. Just like his collar is another added piece. He's got an all-new head. His legs and his waist and his feet are probably reused from other people, but without actually checking, I don't think these feet are unique. They're probably some of the other monstrous characters' feet. But overall, he's a nice mix of parts, new and old, with a fun color scheme, and it's cool to get a character like this in that vintage style. So I like him a lot. Did you guys pick up Vultak, or did you skip him? What are you guys' thoughts? My first news story is about miniatures versus trading cards in that collector game territory. Miniatures were the largest category to show growth in 2024. American trading card game sales slipped a little bit, but miniatures was the largest game category to show growth in 2024. The sales increase went from $570 million in sales in 2023 to $580 million in 2024. Not huge growth, but growth. And the sales for this category, for miniatures, is still 60% higher than it was in 2019. COVID was a huge boom for miniature games. A lot of people got back into painting wargaming miniatures like Warhammer and things like that. So, that industry's been enjoying the growth and trying to, hang on to it. I know I got back into wargaming painting during that time period. I have not made a ton of purchases. I did buy a couple things this year, but mostly, tools. And maybe a paint or two. Oh, I did buy a boxed game right after Christmas. So, yeah, I made a purchase. I'm in this number here. Games Workshop sales led the way, with sales up over 10% in North America for the period of 2024. Right, they're the makers of Warhammer. Other miniature games for 2024 that launched that are doing really well: Renegade Games Heroescape and Manic Games Halo Flashpoint. Have you guys seen the G.I. Joe miniatures game that I think it's like a Kickstarter? I keep seeing ads for it. I have not backed it. It is cool. There's a He-Man game out too that I did not get but looks fantastic. I would love to paint the miniatures, but I'm slow at painting miniatures, and so I don't really know if I need to invest in a whole nother game to paint some G.I. Joe miniatures very slowly. I mean, if they sent it to me as like a promo thing, if I was somebody promoting it, I obviously would, break my neck to try to get characters painted up to a tabletop standard so I could show them off in a video. But if I just, back it and order it and it comes in a year or two and then just kind of goes in my pile of shame or pile of potential, right? All the stuff that I have to paint, they could just sit around forever, unfortunately. But it would be fun to paint some G.I. Joe minis. Next up, we've got Robear Bill. This is one of the Burbles from the Masters of the Universe. Next up, we've got Robear Bill. He is one of the Burbles from the Ultimate Thundercats line from Super 7. This line has been going on pretty strong. We're into 11 or 12 waves with a 13th wave announced. Don't know if the tariffs are going to impact this line. I feel like it can't help it because these figures are already kind of at that point where everyone's complaining about the prices. So I don't know. That wave 13 being the Sky Cutter, a vehicle, and a figure could be a challenge. So I noticed this in the package, but even more out of the package. The shading on this character is very unusual, and I kind of would like to compare it to a screenshot. The Burbles, when I think of them, are, mechanical bears. And I usually picture them as being kind of silver or metallic, and maybe that's just because of the vintage toys. He is a very cream-colored white. And I could see them being white, in my head, and silver and white, animation, metallics, and things like that. I could see that. But this has a very orangey, creamy, almost peach color to it. Like lots of shading on the figure. And it just isn't what I picture in my head. It's just kind of odd. Even looking at the artwork on the package, he seems more metallic, even though he's not like shiny silver. He looks gray or silver to me more than the figure does. So I'm not 100% in love with the paint scheme on this guy, although the sculpting looks fantastic. Burbles being mechanical, being robots, don't seem like very expressive characters to me, kind of like C-3PO. Could you imagine him coming with a second head? Star Wars could get away with it with having one with his eye picked out or something like that. But the Burble here, it's the exact same head. just painted with a white mouthpiece and yellow eyes or orange eyes. Clearly like an evil version of him. Were they possessed at some point? I don't think his eyes blink orange as he talks. But kind of a strange pack-in, but cheap for the company to just paint another head instead of having to tool up another part. And there's probably not any alternative heads. It's tricky to find accessories that add a lot of value to characters that people will care about. He comes with a whole bunch of sets of hands. And then he comes with some things that I'll call more legitimate accessories. He's got a fruit of some sort here, a thunderberry I'll call that. I don't know. I do think they feed the Thundercats at one point. He's got a lantern, and the Burbles go on a lot of adventures and get themselves kind of in trouble sometimes, so these things would be great, including a torch, and that's pretty fun there. It's got a painted stick part, but the translucent plastic flame, which looks great. He's got a knife because the Burble's got to shank somebody. And then in a little plastic bag here, he has an accessory. This is the blueprints for the Cat's Lair, and I actually thought this was going to be a slab of plastic based on the render, and then when I saw it in the bag, I started to wonder if it was like a piece of fabric, but it's just glossy paper. It almost feels like it could be a sticker. So this is like a kind of a tricky thing. It doesn't really roll up. There's no way of holding it shut. They didn't come with like a band to like put around it. So he maybe with one of the hands could hold it, but it just kind of lays there on a table. Again, inexpensive, kind of cheap accessory. It is related to the episodes and stuff, but like these high-end collector figures that are very expensive, and this guy's pretty small one compared to a lot of the figures in the line, comes with a piece of paper. I might be being a little bit hard on Robert Bill because I do like him as a character, and it's a good-looking figure, even if I think the coloring is a little bit not what I was expecting. Would I buy a whole bunch more Burbles? I don't know. Maybe one more, because Super 7 does like to do these characters where they can get kind of multiple uses out of them. They did the Lizardmen Army Pack, they did Willa, and then they did her sister, which is a new character, but pretty similar in body parts and things like that. And the Burbles, obviously, they could do other Burble characters. But how many times am I going to drop this kind of cash on these guys? I'm not quite sure, because I'm definitely at the picking and choosing stage of this line, and I started this line hardcore. One of the things they started doing was the toy versions, after they had done like the cartoon versions. And I was passing on the toy versions, even though I think they look cool, because I don't really need the vintage toy and the cartoon ultimate and then a toy ultimate, if you get my drift. And then more and more I started going, these are expensive and I don't necessarily need all of these characters. I couldn't really see myself displaying a lot of the Mum-Ra variants and even like the little kid Lion-O, who's a great character and neat figure in concept. It just is not really something I needed on display, necessarily. Like, what am I going to do with him? I'm not going to display him with a whole other team of Thundercats. I'm going to have the main Lion-O with the main characters. So it's just sort of, I've gone down that rabbit hole, and I've allowed myself to skip some characters. I skipped an entire wave of this line. The wave with the kid Lion-O. And I don't know how many more Burbles I would buy. Alright, my next bit of toy news involves Mattel. Barbie debuts LeBron James doll, marking the brand's first Ken-bassador. I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of this. It's a pretty good likeness to LeBron. And so if you collect dolls and want celebrity dolls, it's pretty cool. Mattel has announced that Barbie is introducing the doll with the likeness of basketball legend LeBron James. Barbie's has long been catering to adult collectors, and now the brand brings Ken to fans in an unexpected way in advance of the iconic character's 65th anniversary in 2026. The brand will be honoring Ken-bassadors who are inspiring and contributing to a better world for all. So this LeBron James Ken-bassador figure is connected to the LeBron James Family Foundation. LeBron worked with the team at Mattel to pick out all the stuff on his outfit, his varsity jacket and his sneakers and everything. There's lots of nods to his foundation in his outfit there, and his basketball number and things like that. it's pretty neat. And this figure is going to be an inch taller than Ken to actually show the fact that LeBron is a tall guy. So it's going to come in bigger packaging than normal and everything. And I thought that was kind of neat. I touch on Barbie stuff on the channel fairly often, despite not being a Barbie collector. I just think Mattel is a trendsetter, and the things they do with that brand, because that Barbie brand is a top-selling brand for them every year. I just think it's impressive, and it's something I keep an eye on. All right, Luna and Amuk. I like the Lunatics. They were villains in a later season of the Thundercats show. They did not get toys when I was a kid, even though I thought they were super cool. So these are the kind of characters that I'm really excited about. I know there are other cartoon-only characters that I might not get as excited about, or I might have skipped. But these guys were so important. These guys were as important as Mumra and his band of main mutants, showing up episode after episode after episode. And so these guys are the guys I want probably the most in this line. And I know they're purposely spacing them out. They did Aloro and Chilla and these guys. I think we need Red Eye and maybe one other. I am getting nervous that we won't get them all because of the cost of these Ultimate figures. This one is huge. And that's part of what's neat about the Lunatics is they had very unique designs. Whereas the first season Thundercat villains, we'll call them, they were based on the toys. And the toys all kind of had a standard size, Mumra being a little bit bigger than the mutants. You know, there was some variation there. Slide was a little wider and maybe a little shorter. You know, but their figures and their cartoon designs were kind of similar. When they started designing these later characters, they designed the characters first and then the toys, I guess, because Red Eye is the only prototype Lunatic we've ever even seen for the toy line. And it's kind of like the Berserkers. The Berserkers, they really broke the mold and went with these deluxe figures for that band of guys. So I'm really excited to check this out. Oh, he is massive. We've got Amuk here, a big purple goon. He's almost like a demon, really. He's got a tail. He's got big horns coming out of the top of his head. Gigantic chin. And his arms are bigger than his legs. He's got hooves on his back legs. He's got hands on his front legs. And he kind of walks on all fours, or he kind of hunches over and walks on his knuckles a little bit, almost like a gorilla. And he's got a saddle on the back of his neck, because that's where the Queen of the Lunatics rides. I think the fact that she's so diminutive and he's so massive was what fascinated me about all the Lunatics as a kid. The fact that these guys, the Lunatics, had such unusual designs and unusual features just seemed really cool to me. And this guy is massive. I guess there weren't a lot of accessory type add-ons to include. So Amuk has 3 heads. He's got his standard scowl. He's got sort of a mouth open, like grumbly growl face. And he's got eyes squinting like he's being pet. Gucci Gucci Goo. Those are fantastic. Those heads are fantastic. He's also got some other hand options. Although I think I'll be displaying mine with the knuckles out because I want him to be able to be nice and stable and not fall over on the shelf. And then you get Luna, who is tiny. She's a tiny, feisty little queen of the Lunatics. Her action figure is so... Her figure is so small. Here she is next to a G.I. Joe figure. Right? So if he's 3 3/4, is she 2 inches tall? 2 1/4, 2 1/2 maybe? Tiny figure. And she has multiple sets of hands, which is pretty crazy. She does come with one accessory because she has a riding crop in the show that she uses to kind of control Amuk. It does not fit tightly in the hand that she came with, which worries me because I assumed it would be this hand. Oh, maybe it's the other one. All right. Her right hand holds it. The left one is too loose. But she's got her little riding crop there, and she does also come with an alternate head, a sort of crazy, enraged head, with her mouth open, like she's yelling, "Get them! Stop the Thundercats!" So she stands on the saddle on his back, and then you probably want to use one of her hands, the one that's not holding the riding crop, to hold on to his horn. That was pretty frequently done in the show, and that way she's not going to fall off of him on your shelf. I think this is a really cool set, and I am eternally thankful to Super 7 for being able to produce some of these characters. I think this is fantastic. Luna has articulation at the shoulders. They move out to the side and go up and down. Her wrists can swivel. She has hip joints that go out to the side pretty far to basically make her be able to be seated. She does have a joint at the boot. It's like a little swivel point. I don't think it's like a knee joint, just a swivel. But it's enough to get her balanced. She's such a tiny character. You can't expect a lot of articulation. Plus, with her big old melon, she's going to fall over if you try to do any poses other than like 2 feet on the ground. My last news story, the headline on this one caught me by surprise. Court denies Build-A-Bear's request to be sent 3,000 Squishmallows as part of a lawsuit. Okay? So, do you guys know what Squishmallows are? I may have mentioned them when I did, if you saw my Jazzware Vault video from Toy Fair. Squishmallows are these plush... Do I have one here? I wouldn't say this one is a super typical one. This was the Toy Fair Squishmallow Benny. But they're little round plushy guys. They're pretty simple. They don't usually have... I mean, this one has legs, but they don't usually have a lot of appendages. They're just sort of jelly bean shaped plushies. So there's a line of plushies that Build-A-Bear's doing and Squishmallow are doing. They look almost identical. In fact, some of the character designs are like spot on. There's a cow and a frog, and these things are like identical. This isn't the same thing as like Beanie Babies are kind of like Tsum Tsums and kind of like Squishmallow. Like, there's a lot of these like cutesy round plushy characters out there. And most of them have their own kind of style. And, you know, you see ones you're like, oh, that looks a lot like a Squishmallow, even though it's not. You know, they all kind of have their own something a little different, right? Like, you can tell the difference between a Funko Pop and a different type of vinyl figure. But they're still kind of the same thing, right? Same thing going on here with the Squishmallows. And throughout this lawsuit, there's 2 lawsuits. Both companies kind of filed counteracting lawsuits at each other here about these similarities in design and you know, whether you can copyright the shape of a cute round plush. And so the people on Build-A-Bear's side demanded a physical product to inspect for all 3,000 Squishmallow products. And the judge said you could examine 3,000 photos and then physically examine a couple of the actual plush. It's just kind of hilarious. The subtitle of this article says, "Lawyer literally just wants to squish all the Squishmallows." The article talks about Kelly Toy, which is actually a division or a company also owned by the same parent company that owns Jazzwares. I was a little surprised because I didn't realize that Jazzware isn't necessarily considered the maker of Squishmallow, but it's all connected. So they have these counteracting lawsuits filed in different states. Build-A-Bear's Missouri lawsuit was dismissed in August of 2024. The same month, Build-A-Bear filed a counterclaim against Kelly Toys, effectively looking for the same thing from the California court to declare that Build-A-Bear doesn't have any trademark issues with Kelly Toys and Squishmallow. Squishmallow, for the part, was released in 2016 and are known for being super squishy and their distinctive oval shape. Scooshers, which were debuted in 2024, have a similar cylindrical squishy and based off of Build-A-Bear's other stuffed animals. A judge denied the request. Accordingly, the court found some degree of physical inspection could be appropriate here, although inspecting all 3,000 products would obviously be disproportionate to the needs of this case. So it's just a wacky story, and, you know, guys, everybody needs their own unique design. Maybe don't make cows with pink spots if the other company is making cows with pink spots in their jelly bean-shaped plushie line. I don't know what to tell you guys. In the comments down below, let me know what's new to your collection. What toy news are you watching? I was trying to avoid the doom and gloom tariff articles because that was like all the toy news I could find this week. I appreciate you guys checking out the episodes week after week, especially last week, man. People came out in droves for that one. They always do when I have Tony from Hack the Movies on. You know, we do these movie line retrospective kind of videos. That always does get a big draw. Obviously, I can't do that every week. It takes a while to collect those lines sometimes. Be able to do those videos. And then to get everybody together. But I do like showing off new stuff in my collection. I like talking about toy news. So that's the kind of stuff to expect here, sprinkled in with the videos with various other people, talking about, full toy lines and things like that. I was actually hoping that maybe the new Super 7 O-Ring figures from the newest wave of G.I. Joes might get here before too long. Wild Bill and Arctic Cobra Commander and whoever else. Because I want to do a video on them when they come in. And I just have no idea when they're arriving. I know some people have them in hand, but I don't know when they're actually shipping, based on where you're buying them or whatever. So, do me a favor, hit the like button. That tells YouTube this is quality content. Leave a comment down below like I mentioned before. If you want to support the channel further, consider joining us on Patreon. But most of all, thanks for hanging on the peg with me. Ba-ba-boom, ba-ba-dum-bum-bum, ba-ba-dum-bum-bum, ba-ba-dum-bum-bum. Hey,